Hey folks, and welcome to a Daily Ratings Podcast. It's a show where each week we'll sit down with Vincent Daly to get his thoughts on the latest movies he's been watching, both older films and new releases. And don't worry, there's no spoilers. Vince will give a brief review of the movie, share some thoughts, and of course, then rate the film. The Daily Ratings are always fair, honest, and most importantly, they're consistent. On today's show, Vince will be rating and reviewing Hocus Pocus, directed by Kenny Ortega, The Ring by Gore Verbinski, One Cut of the Dead by Shinichiro Ueda, newly released Hocus Pocus 2 by Ann Fletcher, and finally, Black Adam, directed by Kwame Khaled-Serra. So stay tuned and enjoy the show. Mr. Vincent Daly, how we doing, buddy?
Tommy boy, how's it going?
It's going okay on this end. How was your week of movies, Vin?
More family friendly than I expected. I knew both the Hocus Pocuses, but I don't know.
Were you surprised with how kid they were?
Yeah, I guess maybe it was more so. I mean, every week this month, I was really looking forward to get some hardcore horror, dedicated horror.
Sure, yeah.
It is what it is. But I excited about to talk about these movies. Of course, we have a colossal release with Black Adam.
I guess I was this.
The jaws of life for the DCEU, or at least they want it to be.
This is being talked about.
Yeah.
I mean, I did not know. I didn't care too much. But it's like, you know what I mean? I'm kind of shocked of the. I didn't realize how big it was.
Yeah.
I was missing out.
I think there's also kind of a building conversation with Marvel that they've kind of dropped the ball in the current phase,
In the current phase.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as money is concerned, you mean Morbius? Are you talking Morbius?
Well,
and
that as well on the Sony end, but I think it's just more so. Lackluster across the board. DC sees that up as an opportunity. Certainly DC fanboys see that as an opportunity.
Yeah, I wonder if DC was just waiting for the two big Avenger movies to end, right? And now would be the time to strike because the next two Avenger movies are kind of approaching quick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Soon enough.
So, I mean, yeah. Marvel's still making a lot of money. I mean, that Spider-Man movie was bonkers.
Oh, yeah.
So, but this is the time to strike for Black Adam.
Yeah.
So, we'll see if the movie hits later on. But first, we're going to start here back in 1993. I mean, this is a classic. This is Hocus Pocus. We all know it growing up with, and I think it's relatively popular. It's quite a Halloween movie. I had an interesting
discovery when because I kind of assumed this was a classic, but it's actually pretty critically panned. Even back then.
No, it is.
Yeah,
but today. I think people even 10 years older than us and 10 years younger than us know Hocus Pocus a little bit.
Absolutely.
Why do we know it? How does it hold up here in 2022?
Sure. So I was excited to kind of return to the eternal Halloween rerun film. I think this film was pretty much born on Disney Channel, definitely a millennial type of hit, and like you said, Tom, I mean, I would consider this a classic. You would consider this a classic. It's almost self-evident. Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, even looking back and just researching some of the film and the production element, people hated this on release.
That's really funny. I mean, I'm not surprised, but that's very funny.
I think it was Siskel Ebert, and he said dreadful. He just says dreadful for the. I was like, whoa.
I mean, would you think Ebert was a fan of this?
I don't know.
Not so harsh, though.
I mean, I'll be honest. I have a lot of nostalgia with this film, and it's been, in the many years since its release, I think it has gained this cult classic rerun type of
definitely. I'm still actually not. I was never actually the biggest fan.
Oh, really?
So
you're not into spooky stuff.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I come Christmas. That's when I'm paying attention to classics. But I feel like this is at Christmas, people watch Elf.
Okay.
Halloween people watch Hocus
Oh,
Pocus.
sure, absolutely. I think that's actually a good match there for our generation. But and normally, folks, I am completely fine shitting on a film, so I get the rare delight of siding with the fans on this one because rewatching this, I absolutely think it is well deserved to be called a classic. I had a great time with this film. Honestly. Yeah,
Really?
holds up. Absolutely holds up. So,
Really?
yeah, and again, not that I was trying to kind of predisposition my view on it, but I was walking back into this, I was just like, do I really know this? And I time after time again, after this film was running, I was like, okay,
Damn.
this is holding up, this is good. I really did.
This is more than surprising. This is more than shocking.
Right. Like I said, is the rare delight that I get to side with fans and not be a contrarian in the other way. So, in the small town of Salem lived the Sanderson sisters, witches killed for eating children. 300 years later, they are brought back to life to consume as many children as they can before the end of Halloween night. Now, I think, folks, if I am recommending this film at all, it is for the Sanderson sisters. It is why you watch this movie, and that is, it is probably best awarded to Bette Midler in this performance.
Yeah.
I absolutely adore her performance here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I could see how the other two might be a little bit annoying, Sarah Jessica Parker and Kathy Najimy. It's exactly the type of hammy acting, the ramped up acting I want to see out of not only a family villain, a family film villain. This is a Disney Channel movie through and through, but it's also for witches. And I was looking at this and maybe trying to also kind of unpack while I was enjoying it. Well, what were people really skewering this film over? And I said to myself, well, I think it is totally appropriate. Yes, it is it is outrageous acting. Yes, it is, very hammy, very, cartoonish in the way, but they're witches. I don't know. That's,
right.
That's kind of what you want of it. And again, I think it fits the bill when we're talking about if there's any place that is going to be appropriate, it is going to be in a family setting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think absolutely.
This also got me kind of thinking about, some of the, this is what, 93 you said?
Yep, 93.
Some of the hammy, campy acting of the time got me thinking about the Burton Schumacher Batmans, which I am a fan of.
I think that's a great pull. I think that totally makes sense.
Yeah. And again, I think where I would draw the line is it in a family film? If it is, well, guess what? We can have these kind of cartoonish ways about it because we're not trying to get this gritty realism to their motives or anything.
I think it would be really bad. I mean, think about it if they actually went tried to go serious witch or weird or creepy or actually like playing up to I don't know, actual witchcraft and everything like that.
Exactly.
It wouldn't fit. It wouldn't fit.
Exactly.
You want to be having a good time with this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now I think critically this film does have some serious TV movie vibes, and that could be a turnoff for some. You can see this in the kid actors for sure. The dialogue overall, and I would say some of the plot points. I think a lot of this feeling comes from our director. Ortega is a Disney Channel veteran, and this film doesn't really escape that in tone or any sort of way about that. I mention it just because watching in the here and now, that might be something that turns audiences away that haven't grown up with this film.
Right.
Maybe in the chance that they have not seen this film. But also, it is slightly, I think, a pass for me because Ortega kind of understood the assignment here. He was making a Disney Channel film. So, to call it, to fault it for its TV-ishness, or its kind of its surface levelness to it.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be something there that it doesn't make a great recommendation to possibly a new viewer, but I also give it a pass when I'm watching it personally, if that makes sense.
I think so. And, it's tough because how do you slice it? Because, okay, if we're talking movies here, it doesn't matter how they came out. A film is a film. So it's an hour and 36.
Yep.
So it's like, how do you rate it? You know what I mean? But as far as enjoyment wise, I think it's important to know this was meant for TV on the Disney Channel.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And rerun.
And I think there is just a natural pass of watching something like that. And I think the lightheartedness of it makes it easier too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It
is
reason.
a family Halloween film, and I don't think there's anything too wrong with that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some special effects, because I would say it's a mixed bag here. Across the board, I really enjoyed the set design and the props. Right in line with this 90s pre-goth type of style that we mentioned on some of the earlier reviews of the month. The graveyard sequence is a great example of this, both for the Sanderson sisters floating above on brooms, and just the design of the graveyard overall. Like there's some serious love put into these sets and these props. I would say on the not good side is the cursed cat, Zachary Binks. This cat character. I believe the technical side, and this was actually some of why I was researching some of the production too.
Okay.
For a children's film, no less. But I believe it's some sort of rotoscoping where they have the footage of the cat and then they're animating over it. It just doesn't look great.
I bet it does. I would love to go back and look at other examples of that.
Yeah. It's, I give it a pass just because, I don't know, I feel like early 90s, like a cat character like that, there's probably a lot of examples of worst special effects, maybe like a Sabrina the Teenage Witch or something like that.
Yeah, that's where my mind went immediately, yeah.
Yeah, bottom line, it wasn't great, so they're probably all bad. So I wasn't doing a deep dive to Sabrina. But one thing I've always loved about this film specifically is the witch's lightning. The lightning looks so good. I was watching this again and I said, man, this is better than Return of the Jedi. I'm telling you, this is better than the Emperor's lightning. It's little flourishes. You have like little sparks coming out of the fingers. There's like residual electricity in the air.
This would be good to see.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a minor point, and obviously if you're not into really studying special effects, is it going to make so much of a difference? No. But I think it is a wonderful flourish to the film.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. I really just I love how it's presented and how it's animated around the sisters. But that's some of my reasons for loving this film. And like I said, what it really boils down to is you're watching it for the Sanderson sisters and Bette Midler and this wonderful campy, hammy performance in the best way possible for a witch. You want them to be regal and trying to eat children, and also like despicably evil as well. There's really no redeeming quality to them. You love to hate them almost.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and believe me, I am in the outlier. I think. Apparently from research, every non-millennial seems to think this movie is trash. But this is a perfect example where I'm going to be watching the movie. If I'm talking about it, I'm watching it regardless. I could have seen it, a million times.
Right.
I'm going to be watching it fresh so I can talk about it in the here and now. And this movie held up. I had a wonderful time with it. I think it was well-deserved the classic, a crown to it. Hopefully I saw beyond some of that nostalgia in my criticism, but folks, give it a shot if you haven't. It is a classic for you to see. We're going to go ahead and give Hocus Pocus a 71.
Okay. I would have lost a lot of money on that one.
Really? You thought I was going to tear this apart?
Let's say if you were going to be surprisingly liking this movie, I still think it's a 55.
Really?
Yeah. Not me, I haven't seen it in a while, but just like knowing you, I'm shocked that Hocus Pocus is just 71%.
It's great.
I love it.
It's great.
I freaking love it.
It really is. It's such a... And also, fill out the bingo sheets, folks. A tight little movie. There's not a lot of fat on it.
Yeah, hour 36. Hour 36, definitely.
You're in and you're out with some Halloween spooky vibes.
Truly shocking. So I like it.
Effects
not agreeing with the critics, but agreeing with the fans on this one, which is nice.
It is nice.
Jeez Louise. Okay.
It's a rest. I can rest easy.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect coming for any of these now, especially this one. So we're jumping to 2002. This is The Ring, which was huge when we were growing up, and I think this definitely grabbed culture for a little bit, for a while. It's directed by Gore Verbinski. The Ring, what do we get with this? How does it hold up, and what was it like returning to it? Because this really did... I don't know. There were memes about it going for years.
Yeah.
Everyone knows the classic scenes.
Yep, absolutely.
How did The Ring hold up?
This was actually the last movie I watched this week, and I was kind of looking back, and I was like, "This is really family friendly," like I said. So I just asked myself, what movie was I too scared to watch as a child?
Oh,
and that's where this kind of came about.
Totally makes sense.
Yeah. So the Ring is one of many remakes of the original Japanese horror film. We follow a investigative reporter played by Naomi Watts, researching a series of mysterious deaths. These deaths are tied to a videotape that, after watching it, it delivers the message to the viewer that they have 7 days until they die. It really is an electric elevator pitch there for the film. You know, I mean, I think a good horror premise boils down to being able to summarize it with that and have it as big of a hook that it can be for the viewers, you know? This film is, like I said, an American remake and grabs from many horrors at the time. This, of course, it has the VHS aesthetic horror that is from the original Japanese Ringu in 1998. Probably going to revisit that in the coming weeks.
That would be very cool.
Yeah. And I think a lot of other Japanese films at the time, again, kind of birthing this VHS aesthetic that is very much coming back, very much in the play of your 80s nostalgia, Stranger Things, a la that type of stuff, you know, creepiness to it.
Are you aware how 1-to-1 this is with that original, or
I'm
like
not.
How much it strays from it? Or?
Just because there was a genuine desire to maybe watch that film, I've never seen it.
Yeah.
I want to kind of stay away from spoilers. There's plenty
that's
of kind
true.
of articles online of comparisons of the original, you know, I mean,
sure, absolutely.
What they got right, what they didn't, you know, kind of stuff. So, but it is a kind of a composite film of a lot of different horror tropes, I guess you could say at the time. This has equal sprinklings of The Sixth Sense and other American horror around creepy kids in a good way. I found this film, watching this in modern day, to be a composite of a lot of horror at the time, and credit goes to the director, Gore Verbinski, because I think it has, you know, a very good balance of understanding we have to make this a American horror versus a Japanese horror, but also, you know, in creating, you know, obviously hindsight's 20/20 here, in creating the horror icon of The Ring, he did a phenomenal job at the icon, you know, it kind of, you know, tying to other things that we were familiar with. Again, one example being Sixth Sense in '99. You know, there is a kid character in this that's like basically all knowing, and it's like, why are we grabbing this? What is this about? But I think he's compositing it all together, and that's what makes the icon on the shoulders of giants, as we say.
Yeah, there's some decent ones. I don't know if it was picking up on any Signs. Like, I don't know if it because Signs was 2000 or 2001, I believe.
Yeah.
And then there was another one early on as well. Blair Witch Project too.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Just VHSs as a horror object, even.
Yeah.
You know,
how was the cinematography?
I loved it.
Okay.
Loved it.
Was it very that style? Am I thinking back right, where they all kind of felt the same, or they're a little blued?
Yes,
okay,
definitely blued, washed out. Absolutely,
okay, yeah.
Absolutely. And in a different way than something that we covered, like Possession, where that was more of like a actual filter on the lens. It felt like at times,
right? It was purposeful for actually trying to.
Yeah. This is more of a washout, and things tend to lean towards blue just because they're in dark, and you know, it's creepy. But yeah, I just want to give some credit to Gore. You know, he's got a little bit of an odd filmography. You know, he Mouse Hunt, Rango.
Oh, I love Mouse Hunt.
Yeah.
The guy who did Mouse Hunt did Rango?
He did the original 3 Pirates trilogy, the Pirates of the Caribbean
This
trilogy.
guy.
And then he did The Ring out of nowhere. Like,
he's probably like, I need to do something. Just like,
I need to break it up a little bit.
Get the hell out of here.
Yeah. So
he just shut up the top 10 favorite directors. Mouse Hunt?
Yeah, Mouse Hunt. I don't know.
We got to do a film study on this. We got to do a special on this guy.
Yeah. Obviously the Pirates trilogy we're saving for, you know, whenever Depp gets back in the saddle with Disney. But yeah, I would be happy.
Oh my gosh, this all makes so much more sense now. Fantastic.
Yeah, but I'm glad it was shot to the top 10. This is quick.
I might take it back. Don't worry.
Yeah, right. My biggest concern coming into this film, though, is that it's PG-13. I say no way.
Very weird. That's
No,
actually shocking.
yeah.
That's shocking.
It is shocking. And I said, in no way in hell is this movie that scary. And to the credit to the film, and again, credit to the entire team, but Gore as a director, man, it is a scary film.
So what's the deal? Not a lot of...
It's just
not a lot of gore.
Blood. Yeah, right.
And
contrary to his name.
What you're only allowed back in 2002? You're allowed maybe 2 F words.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't see a lot of or hear a lot of profanity.
You might only be allowed 1 back then.
Yeah,
if
who
anything.
knows
Yeah.
the rules back then? And obviously, someone doesn't go out to say they want to make a rated R or something like that.
No, but just
yeah,
it's just assumed.
Exactly, it's a horror. You're gonna have kills.
I just assumed this was rated R the entire time.
Me too.
He does a good job though.
It's a great. I think it pairs with a investigative horror, and kind of slows things down, but it achieves a really good atmosphere through that. Perfect example is the tape in question.
Yeah.
We see it all the way through, no cuts. Just a section of the film is just running the whole tape. And then the entire time we are cutting back or we are drawing parallels with the imagery on screen to that tape. And the tape itself is pretty scary on its own. It's very surreal, kind of just flashing to different creepy imagery.
It sets a weird atmosphere. You're unsettled sitting in your seat.
Absolutely. Yeah. So then to have that tied back to throughout the film, whether that be imagery or actually maybe a little bit more clumsy or actual just straight up flashbacks. I mean, we saw it, so I don't know if we need that. But it is great though, because that initial film the tape that we see, it is scary on its own and kind of sets this foreboding tone to wait for the next time we're seeing a scene from the tape play out in the world then. And it's just really good. I was really not disappointed at all with this PG-13 rating, which makes me happy to be challenged, because again, I feel like we've been talking about the last 6 months now that's been the thing that I've always said,
So now that you're, definitely. But now that you're on the back end of it and you've seen it, let's say you didn't know going into that, you just assumed it was rated R the entire time. And then after you found out it was PG, well, you knew it was PG-13 going into it?
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
So now that you know, does it make sense that it's PG-13?
I think so. We really don't see a lot of blood, period.
Okay, so not a lot of cursing, not a lot of blood.
Yeah, even the aesthetics of the little girl, of the ring itself, it's water-based. So normally, in kind of a horror icon, you'd have blood, leaking in, but it's all water because it's, we have a well.
Right.
So I think, again, it just kind of fits the bill for 13.
Wow.
And I think it's great because clearly it was part of what made this go, electric when it comes to people falling in love with this film and maybe reaching a wider demographic. How much that makes a difference.
I think a huge. Oh my God! It makes the difference. Mm-hmm. That's actually true. It makes so much more sense now, really.
Yeah.
When you think about how this film took off.
Yeah. Cool. And again, a lot of this praise, this is not without merit of watching in the modern day. I have never seen this film coming up to this. I was just too scared.
It's crazy. But even after all these years, after all these seasons of October, you never returned to it.
Never
got
around
back to it.
I was spooked by the legend of the ring.
That's cool.
It was very enjoyable to come back to. I was very happy with it. Like you mentioned already, Tom, the colors, they're very washed out. I would say maybe what separates it from just being blue, scary blue. It does play into kind of the worn out aesthetic of this tape being played over and over and over again.
Okay.
There's a worn outness to the film. And I'm going to hit you with another surprise. Guess who does the soundtrack here?
Oh my God. Not Howard Shore.
No.
Who?
Hans Zimmer.
No, shocker. He's in so much more than you think. Good.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, okay.
But really good.
I bet it's dynamite.
Yeah, I've been getting in the habit of when I kind of refine some of my notes, I listen to the soundtrack to kind of muster the feelings, especially with horror.
I love it, yeah.
And I was just like, wait, Hans Zimmer? What is going on here? And
That's awesome.
It's great. You know, I mean, I wouldn't say maybe it's like iconic as like Dark Knight or something like that, but he does a really good job with it. So
He's so good. He's the leading guy right now.
Yeah.
And has been for probably 10 years.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. The film also has so much more development to its investigation horror element than something like we recently reviewed, like Smile. There's a meaningful unraveling to the mystery of how this cursed VHS comes about. And, you know, I'll say maybe the pacing of the film is a bit of a miss. We have this 7-day structure, which kind of... You know, we're actually reminded on screen of this 7-day each day that it passes, and it feels maybe a little bit waste because we burn through like the first 5 days in no time, and then it's just like, all right, maybe the planning could have been a little bit better here. But again, it keeps us invested into the mystery of it, and something meaningful comes from unraveling the mystery rather than maybe giving us some exposition into the curse itself, like Smile, but not really having any substance coming out of the conclusion. There is substance to it, and again, I think it works. Good horror mystery, it works because the mystery can work on its own. You know what I mean? It's not just working as one or the other.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I'm happy to say this movie held up after all these years. A very solid watch that I could appreciate on multiple levels. The horror, the legacy, the filmmaking, but most of all, how much the atmosphere is conjured without the excess of gore or jump scares. If you haven't seen it, give it a watch. We're going to go ahead and give The Ring 2002 a 74.
Ooh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow, doing okay this week?
This
doesn't surprise me as much. Okay, yeah. 74 is good, though, and I'm glad to hear that it really did hold up.
Yeah, not
Crazy
quite.
It's PG-13. I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's
not
so impressive.
quite the heights of Returning to Blair Witch last year, like we've mentioned now a few times.
Well, that was
this
a
month.
nice surprise.
Yeah,
that was a very nice surprise.
But this still had that, like, okay, I get it. It deserves the hype. To
and
it.
deserves to maybe be watched for people who haven't seen it yet.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I had a great time with
this October. Yeah,
yeah. This was probably the biggest highlight of the week.
Okay. So we're going to jump ahead here to 2017. This is a Japanese or Korean film?
Japanese.
Okay, Japanese film called One Cut of the Dead. At least for us, it's called One Cut of the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Shinichiro Waida.
You did a great job on the intro with the names. I have a guilt pass it over Tom.
That's
tough
fun.
Names.
Or Waida. Yeah, Shinichiro Waida, who we know and love, obviously. Who doesn't know this guy? What do we get with this classic film?
One Cut of the Dead, it's a very original movie. It's going to be real tough to talk about, though, folks, because I have...
I wanted to know, why was this on your list, or where did this come from?
So this was something recommended by me by my brother-in-law. We've been chipping away at some films.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's a very interesting, very unique film, but probably is going to be the most challenging film to talk about without spoilers that we've had on the podcast. I would say previously that crown went to Lamb, A24's Lamb, where, I really couldn't say much, but... was needed to talk about it regardless.
Sure.
Very similarly here, there is just a large part of the film that I'm not going to be able to talk about.
That's
whatsoever.
Fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Set her up for us.
Yeah. This movie evolves quite a bit over its runtime, and the difficulty in me recommending this is that the initial plot pitch is nowhere near how the film makes you feel at the end. Folks, I have put a lot of thought into this, of how I can review this film. Actually, to a certain point that I was going to say, I don't care. I'm going to talk about spoilers because otherwise I can't talk about the film. But I said, no, let me draw that back. I saw that online, really, no one was giving up the goat on this. So I was like, okay, if I say I do no spoilers,
you can't break. You can't break it.
I can't break for this. So
especially because we pride ourselves on no spoilers.
Exactly.
If we were the ones.
Yeah. One of the guys I follow, he covered this, and Yeah, I mean, he has no bones about spoilers, and they were even walking on eggshells. I say, okay, I gotta play by the rules here. So, but yeah, for those that have seen the film, and maybe obviously, especially for those that haven't, I put a lot of thought into how I would present this film. I would say, in a nutshell, this is a Japanese zombie B movie, with enough heart to be called feel good. And that's what I mean as the feeling that you're coming out of this. If I presented this just as a zombie film, that's not what you're coming out of the experience with. If I would present this in more of its feel-good elements, we would dip more into the spoilerly aspects of it. So I think if that originality sparks any sort of interest for you folks at home, I would say roll the dice and give it a shot. Because again, the originality of this film is huge. And there is, I may come out with this rating as a little lukewarm.
Okay.
But if you like original premises, if you like being surprised, this is one of them. So give it a shot. Go in a little bit more blind than you would.
And it's taking you on a roller coaster a little bit of weird, dark, zombie, scary, and feel good at the same time.
Yes.
It's weaving in and out of that as a bit of a roller coaster.
Absolutely.
Could you say very close to Parasite almost? That takes you up and down an emotional roller coaster a little bit. An original story in Japan.
Yeah. I mean, I think for Bong, as far as like a Korean film, he's definitely on his own
Korean
little
film, right?
Yeah. There's a
Oh, sorry, everyone. I offended a lot of people somewhere. But you know what I mean. That's all. I mean, we don't have to stay too much on it. But just hearing the fact that we have a foreign Asian film,
yes,
and one very original, and two feel good / weird / little spooky or scary or something like that. That's all.
I think you bring up a great point, Tom, because it could be evidence for, hey, you like this might be right for you. You know, I mean,
right.
I like comparing things, not for the sense of, oh, I know a lot of movies. No, it can help you kind of navigate jumping into a film with minimum spoilers.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people don't know this film.
Yeah,
they're not on anyone's radar.
And it's 2017. I mean, we're it's not an old film,
right?
But yeah, indie is definitely the type of vibe, and indie Japanese is even more unfound.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, it's tough to get. It's there's something has to be about this film, because if you're saying that it's a B-rate Japanese zombie film, right away it's like, okay, but we should care about it still, right?
Right, yeah, exactly. With that said, I mean, I can kind of discuss the first 40 minutes or so of the film, and it does have merits of its own. As the title suggests, the first 40 minutes of this film is one big cut, a oneer, as is referred to as film enthusiasts. This is exactly what the title refers to. That is a single, uninterrupted take to this. The first half is also a good example of first-person perspective used in film successfully. I think there's a lot of enjoyment in figuring out how they pulled off certain filming tricks, and in a similar way, kind of watching the film, but also having some fun. Figuring out the production, figuring out the behind the scenes element, had me reminiscing a lot on 2014's Birdman, 2015's Hardcore Henry for the first person element.
Definitely.
And folks, if you enjoy thinking about the production or behind the scenes work that goes into movies, this film is going to reward that, because there is kind of, you could very realistically not notice that it's one cut. It is part of what is enjoyable about this. And again,
it adds something. It adds something to a viewing experience, which is what makes Birdman so good, which makes the opening to Boogie Nights so good.
Oh, sure, absolutely, absolutely. One Cut of the Dead was, or is a very interesting where it unravels. And while the first half of the film isn't really good, besides this production element, it feels very low budget. It feels very B-movie. I think the novelty is going to land on the right side of the ratings. Its originality is where I'm coming with a positive rating for it, rather than calling this a B movie. Why would you waste your time with it? Right. I mean, the novelness of it really does save it, which is important. I wasn't crazy about this film by the end, but if anything, it does get a lot of points for high rewatch potential as well. Something that we maybe talked about earlier in the podcast, but not something that we've talked about in a while. I got 5 movies a week. I ain't rewatching.
Right.
I ain't rewatching anything.
You rewatch some things.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, cut yourself some
when
slack.
I have to, when I want to.
So even though, you would return to this?
I think more so again in kind of a tiered approach. I think I didn't love it. I think its originality gets into a positive area. I think it could fit for a very specific type of film enthusiast that loves, the technical side of film. And if you're that deep into it, then guess what? There is rewatch potential on top of it as well. And that's, I'm hopefully trying to navigate a little bit of who this could work for, the very niche audience that it could work for. Because I don't think this film is going to hit for a lot of people just because it's 40 minutes of a B movie, essentially.
It's a tough pitch.
If that 40 minutes was blown out to be the entire hour, uncut, first person, and everything, I still would be coming in with a very, very poor rating for this because technical aspects aside, it's not what I'm recommending this movie for.
Right.
So
I mean, that's tough because it's only an hour and 36.
Yeah.
So it's a lot to ask of an audience to sit through some serious madness.
Yeah, it's true. And that's where I think, again, an enthusiast that is watching film for the making of film, this could hit right on the money for, again, for these kind of this one shot, this one cut, if you will. So for those that have seen it, like I said, hopefully I danced around this pretty successfully because I put a absurd amount of thought into how to do this. It's so much so that...
It's funny because... We don't know much about it, so that's good.
Okay, all right, good. But it's also maybe not the most functional review as well.
Well, no, but it works. That's fine. I mean, I'm glad that we know nothing about it. It's funny to me how much time you had to spend to not talk about something. Where for us, it's just like, all right, just not talking about it. So.
Right. It was a short review. It's been a little short. It really, because, again, I think this could be, talking to someone contextually about film and finding out what type of movies they like. This could be in the holster to say, oh, give this a shot. And that's, again, where I think this is... very niche, could fall into a recommend for some, not all, and its originality is what I'm rewarding there.
Sure, okay.
So, if you haven't seen it, like I said, don't let my lukewarm score on this maybe detract from any genuine interest in the movie. To explain what I don't care for, I would need to spoil the whole thing, but the originality of the first watch experience is a greater value to my recommendation than spoiling. We're going to go ahead and give One Cut of the Dead a 59.
Okay, 59. I don't even know what to think about this.
Yeah. Like I said, definitely it gets the crown for the most I've had to walk on eggshells for spoilers.
Wow.
And usually I don't have a problem with that at all.
No, but I will say makes the movie intriguing.
Yeah.
Weird that it's a 59, but intriguing for film watching experience.
Yeah, definitely a challenge, which I appreciate. But kind of gummed up my schedule thinking about this critically. For 59, it's also one of those things that we talk about, like, is it really worth spending so much time on when the score is just kind of meddling? It's just middle of the road. But
there's nuances there because it will hit for some people.
Absolutely.
Real quick, now that you have watched this, would this get an honorable mention on the essential zombie films?
Unfortunately, not. Just because by 2017, our last entry is already on that essential zombie film.
Yeah.
And I don't think too terribly much is done with a zombie icon as well. So, but great question.
Yeah. Okay. Very good, Vince. So that was One Cut of the Dead with a 59%. The original title, Kemeru o Taruna.
I didn't put him up to it. He's going in for his own.
Easy to find, by the way, or difficult for us? How did you view it?
I don't know. My brother-in-law had a copy, so I'm not too sure.
All right, so everybody just hit up Vin's brother-in-law then. Okay, Vin, so we just want to remind everyone here, we're going out the value for value model. So if you're finding the podcast valuable, if you're finding the website valuable, if you could, send us back some value. You go to the website, go to the donations tab, and you can send in whatever donation that you want of any amount. You send in a note along with it. We're going to read it here on air and live. It's just a way for you to connect to us, for us to connect to you, and also for you to show your support and produce the show. Completely producer supported. It's a value for value model, and we thank you so much for those of you who have produced. We're excited to get a lot of more producers in the future. You know, if you don't want to give anything right now, or obviously, money's tight for a lot of people, and we're still growing, and we were going to have more to offer. But if you could, tell somebody about it. Tell a friend, tell a family member. That's huge for us right now.
Absolutely,
and so appreciated. So we thank you all out there who are enjoying listening and who are also helping produce the Daily Ratings. Again, it's dailyratings.com, and head to the donations tab. All right, Vin, with that, we're going to go to our newly released, or now in theaters. We're going to jump here to Hocus Pocus 2. Not Kenny Ortega anymore. This is Ann Fletcher.
Yes.
And how do we come back to this IP? And what do we get with it exactly?
So yeah, this is straight to Disney Plus as a release, and that can be kind of a red flag for some, just because I feel out of all the streaming services, Disney Plus really shovels out some stuff.
Yeah. I would say so.
Yeah, I mean, probably Apple TV is next in line with that, but they're at least a little bit more selective, it looks like.
Yeah.
So, but the sequel serves as a expansion to the backstory and the lore of the Sanderson sisters. Instead of some 90s plot about kids move into a new town, we have the story paralleling the sisters' witches' coven, why they stay together, how they keep their power together by their friendship or their sisterhood. And that is paired and paralleled with girls in modern day that are interested in the occult and witchy stuff and magic, Right off the back, I think it's a better setup pairing this together.
Okay.
That is one praise that I'll give to the film, that I think it, both from a business perspective, understands its demographic a little bit more, being a teen girls interested in these things, but also does play into a stronger story, at least in concept, because again, if the best thing about that original film, and like I said, even watching it, just this week, is the Sanderson sisters making the story a little bit more directly about the sisters, trying to say, okay, who are we putting against the sisters in this, and can we draw parallels to this? I think it's a little bit better crafted for that reason, a little bit more thoughtful, I guess would be.
That's
my
good,
takeaway.
and that's good. Are they trying to make it a little bit more? I wouldn't say more original, but they're not trying to just rinse and repeat. It's not the same exact story.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even in the Sanderson sisters' motivations, it's not just eating children. Which,
right. Good. Okay.
Again, I mean, I don't know. I kind of liked the, again, the cartoonishness of the original. But right off the bat, we are shown the origin of the witch sisters, and that their strength comes from, again, sticking together. It's the witches' coven is kind of the focal point here. And once we flash forward to modern day, they have them once again released to meet by a world that is much more inviting to them as last time. They will soon show that there was a reason why the town of Salem was after them, and their evil ways do seek in. So it is not, believe me, I was looking at this film, I was like, are they really going to sugarcoat it? Are the Sanderson sisters going to be good guys or something like that?
That would be the worst.
You're right.
That would be the worst.
And there's a little bit more of a sympathetic route to how they're portrayed or anything like that, but they are still evil, which is good.
That's good, yeah.
And almost, again, very, very cartoonishly evil, concerned with baby souls and things like that, the souls of children,
right.
It's, yeah. I'll be honest here, besides this being straight to Disney Plus, besides this being another sequel that nobody really asked for, like I said, I think there is a smart move in understanding the demographic of teen girls. If anything, that first Hocus Pocus, if anyone is holding up the torch in modern day, in a landscape where Disney Channel, I don't even know if the Disney Channel is even around. I haven't had TV in probably a good 5 years. I think, it's smart to tie this to that demographic as a business move. And again, I think also that plays into the story as well. So credit where credit is due. I felt it was well crafted in that regard.
Okay, that's good. Is there enough there to play off so the people who enjoyed this when they were 15, who now have those 15-year-old kids, kind of, Does there's something for them to enjoy as well, or is this
think
much
so.
more of a 15 where the family could enjoy the first Hocus Pocus? Is this one more focused and just for 15-year-olds, or is this again another family treat?
I think it's a family treat. Maybe leans a little bit more towards a female perspective with it.
Of course, yeah.
And again, and I think if anything, that's a credit to it. But honestly, towards my recommendation for this, I would say actually watch them back to back. I think this is a
that's great.
fan film, for that.
Okay, very good.
If my recommendation was based on the Sanderson sisters in the first one, guess what? It's more good stuff here. And yes, all the actresses are much older. Yes, there's a bit of a different tone to each of them. For instance, Sarah Jessica Parker, she's a much bigger star now than back in 93.
Yeah.
So I feel her character originally being a very kind of dumb, ditzy character, they've toned that back because she probably disagreed with it as an actress.
Okay, right.
And filling that role. But they are still able to conjure a lot of the same fun and energy. And again, that focus is put on, if anything, exclusively their interactions with each other, this sisterhood element. I think where this falls short is really in script and plot. It's just, I put a bit boring here. I'm going to upgrade this to decently boring. Because even just my gut reaction, would I call this a bit boring? No, it's a bit more than bit. And I think that if anything, it plays into why I'm saying maybe even watch these side by side. This is by no means a bad movie, but you can really watch this side by side and see, okay, so I get why this is more of an electric movie in the first one, and maybe lacking a little bit in this second.
So watching them together helps them.
Helps them.
Helps the second one.
Also, maybe shows you why the first is better. What is the difference between these two? Why is one better than the other?
Are you still saying okay, but overall, still watch the second one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay, all right,
absolutely.
all right.
But just it's not the heights of,
of
the first one, wherever those heights may be.
Watch them in reverse. What if you watch them in reverse?
I don't know. Yeah, probably no good. I think if I had to boil it down critically, why maybe it doesn't work as well is that this first one has a great chase to how the plot is structured, and it's just missing that. And you can see a huge difference in specifically the first hour of both of these films and how they're paced, and it is night and day. So
okay,
I think that's the main difference. This being a straight-to-digital release, they had to make as much money as possible, and boy, let me tell you, there is some gross ad placement in this one.
God.
Walgreens is the flavor of the ad here. And, I'll be real, Tom, I'll admit, there was some funny jokes around the sisters in Walgreens.
Okay, yeah.
But it would the placement as trying to position Walgreens as like Halloween Central, for your one stop for all Halloween. It was disgusting.
That's disgusting.
Yeah. I mean,
way too blatant.
Exactly. Yeah. To the point that we get like a shot of an actual Walgreens like lingering. It's just like
that's bad.
It just destroys it.
I feel like you could have, and especially when you're dealing with like Halloweeny spooky stuff. I just feel like you could have went and got better ads. You could have got the same amount of money and had better ad placement.
I agree.
Right?
I agree. Yeah. And don't get me wrong. I mean, there's some funny. The jokes are set up around. They're concerned with consuming the souls for youth. Well, guess what? Walgreens has an extensive beauty section.
It's cute. I mean, you could definitely see how it plays off of it a bit.
But
a lot better than Olive Garden in Sonic.
Oh my God! Yeah, that is the worst.
Right.
Yeah. But it's like when every shot is framed with the Halloween candy aisle in the back. I'm sorry, it feels gross. Feels
fake. Yeah.
It feels manipulative. As I've mentioned before, folks, personal tolerance. I bring it up because it's something that turns my stomach. If you have a tolerance for it, though,
Yeah, if you don't give a shit. Yeah,
exactly. If you're not gonna, if it's really not gonna make a difference, it's no problem. But just it does for me. There are also flashbacks to the original all over the place. And I would say it's relatively unneeded. This is a fan sequel and knows it is a fan sequel. And just, it's a little unneeded how much it's thrown out there. I'll call that Matrix Resurrections syndrome. Where it's just like, well, do you know who's watching this film? Do they need do they really need a flashback here? I'm pretty sure everyone could put the dots together.
Right.
So, other than that, of those critiques, like I said, We have a very similar film, a little bit better crafted in ways, a lot weaker in other areas. Unfortunately, weaker in the areas that just are straight to digital releases. You know what I mean? I think it's very indicative of that. So the return of all three actresses here may not feel too fresh, but updating the plot to be more teen girl focused is a welcome revamping of the story. And I think, again, my recommendation is to watch these side by side, if only to appreciate that first one just a bit more. We're going to go ahead and give Hocus Pocus 2 a 60 on the dot.
Wow, okay. I'm kind of still surprised at a 60.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. Hocus Pocus punching way above its weight, I feel like. Wow.
I mean, listen, I'll give my points.
I wasn't expecting 71 on Hocus Pocus. I definitely was expecting below 50 for the second one.
Really?
Not knowing anything about any of them, or not knowing anything about the second one, it's just like, I just thought it was going to be Disney Plus drivel.
Sure. And it definitely is in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it kind of came and went. No one's really talking about it too much.
Yeah. I guess it is my bias for these three actresses, and Bette Midler specifically.
Well, that's what made
does a phenomenal job, you know?
Is it weird that they didn't do it next year, a year from now?
How so? Well,
it's just like, so the 19th anniversary, you're doing Hocus Pocus 2?
Good point.
Not 20th anniversary?
Yeah, good point.
You know, just make the billboards look better. 20th
maybe
anniversary,
actually release it in theaters.
That's just me. Yeah, anyway, okay, Hocus Pocus 2 with the 60%, really not that bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to the big one here, the one that's, I mean, hey, the box office finally is looking good for once. People are in the seats. People are buying tickets again. This is Black Adam. This is from a director I don't think I've heard of before, but maybe we know him.
Okay.
And what do we get with, this is The Rock coming in. This is Black Adam. This is DC. What do we get here with this?
Yeah, a big push for this film. The director of Jungle Cruise, he's back at it again. Okay. Yeah, we actually didn't cover Jungle Cruise.
I watched it.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. What's the Tommy Two? Give me real unofficial Tommy Two shoes.
It was horrible in all the best places.
Okay.
And I mean, I think it gets 2 shoes.
Oh, it gets
no
both
laces.
Shoes?
No laces.
Okay. Well, they might be tripping over themselves.
More so, though, it gets definitely 1 shoe.
Oh, okay.
Not a flip flop.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not good, but enjoyable. That's how, because it's not good.
Sure. So,
unhelpful. That was very unhelpful.
It was on the spot. I put you on the spot.
Now that I know that, I have no hope for this film.
Well, yeah. Let me unpack it.
Yeah, just go for it.
It's a lot. It's a lot here. So, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock here is really. He is pushing this as a surge of life into the franchise of the DCEU, and Warner Brothers really needs it to save their superhero universe. And as far as Dwayne Johnson's involvement in the project, it goes back a while. Very similar to Ryan Reynolds with Deadpool on the Marvel side of the coin. This Black Adam casting is wholeheartedly backed by fans because he just looks like the character through and through.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Kind of nice.
And much how Reynolds' voice is now almost inseparable from, Deadpool's fourth wall breaking kind of jokes to it. So I have some notes later on. I mean, Dwayne is doing an all right job. Unfortunately, we have another scenario where his own film is a little bit hijacked by supporting characters. And believe me, he's kind of just playing it cool. He's really not doing like an amazing job at like bringing the character to life.
Yeah. It's
more so just being badass.
Right.
And hey, that's fine.
He's just carrying it through the film.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's not torturing the character, but...
Right. Yeah, this isn't something that comic book nerds are going to be in uproar over or anything.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, it's just like, once again, another scenario where it's like, I'm here for The Rock. I'm not here for anyone else. Like Black Widow, like Thor, pretty much like all the superhero films. It feels like lately. For those that are not up to speed, because Black Adam, a big character on the DC side, but not exactly a household name. He is a anti-hero, or maybe even a villain in the Shazam mythos. He has similar source of power, being pre-Egyptian and magical in nature, and in comic book terms is top tier in the ever-going arms race of most powerful.
Okay.
He's definitely like a top 10 if I had to, give some comic book perspective.
Okay.
Sounds like who cares? Who gives a damn about top 10?
I'd be interested in the other 9.
Yeah.
At least with Marvel, it's like, okay, Superman, we get it.
Right.
Oh, Superman is DC.
Superman's DC, yeah. The factor is important how the film is positioned, though, because again, the DCEU is in free fall. And who gives a damn about anything? There's no continuity. Ezra Miller is facing 25 years in prison.
It never got off the ground,
Very
let
true.
alone free fall.
Very true. Yeah. This isn't really a reboot. It's kind of like a revitalization. They got the jaws of life. They got the they got the paddles out.
Right.
trying to bring it back to life. And right in the marketing of this film, right in the point of this film is that they're trying to surge the life by putting such a powerful character into the lineup. Hopefully they can kind of play catch up with the perpetually ahead of the game Marvel. I feel like it's always been catch up. This is their moment to maybe seize some of that. So I bring a lot of this up because, again, this is going to be a bottleneck. This is going to be required watching for DCEU. And
I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah.
Especially if they're really kind of trying to do a knockout swing here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for fans of comic book movies, if you are really a diehard fan of the DC side of it, and you've been fighting them all off, all the naysayers, listen, this will be something that you can at least say, okay, it was substantial to where things are going. How I feel about the movie, though, is it is extremely generic. It is, it may be required watching, but it is something that you are going to forget in a week's time. So you're probably going to just have to watch it again. Our story introduces a lot. Not only do we get up to speed on Black Adam's origin, but we jump in the deep end with a lot of other superheroes challenging him for the power of this. The DC universe kind of is progressing behind the scenes, and this movie has a big focus on the first appearance of the JSA, the Justice Society of America. This is kind of Tom. This is kind of second-rate Justice League, basically.
Oh, okay.
It's they clean up the.
You can't be happy to see them. You can't be too thrilled to hang out with them in the film, right?
Well, that's what I mean. Like, it's kind of like they're stealing the time away from The Rock.
So you have B-rate Justice League taking time away from The Rock. That's what this is?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
We do have some cool introductions to other heroes. Hawkman gets his first introduction here. Dr. Fate, a very, very important character on the DC side, played by Pierce Brosnan here.
I'm glad to see Pierce.
Yeah. A cool character.
Okay,
too.
good.
And I'm not saying that I didn't like the involvement. I just have a fundamental problem with the film being called Black Adam when Black Adam is supposed to be the main anti-hero character.
Wow, he really is that vacant.
I mean, it's like we get a lot of badass scenes with The Rock, but I would say a good 40 to, if not 50-50 down the middle is spent with the JSA.
Wow.
It's not his movie, just how Black Widow was not Scarlett's movie,
I wonder if like Marvel and DC making these films now, because we're so flooded with them since 2008 and Iron Man, I wonder if it's just like, okay, we just got to pack as many characters, we got to pack as much in as possible, because we don't want people to get bored here.
Exactly.
But I think I don't know, I think most people would disagree with that premise.
Yeah.
If you're going to see Black Adam, you want to see Black Adam.
Exactly.
That's all there is to it.
With how much of a force he is on screen, godlike even. His scenes are really the best. And I'm not saying I was hating the supporting cast, but again, it was just like fundamentally, it just does not make sense how they're making some of these films, these spotlight films. It's like they forgot how to make the spotlight films from just a couple of years ago. So. Yeah. Performance-wise, like I said, Dwayne is doing an okay job here. Obviously, he's buff as hell, so, the physical side of that is impressive. He's just more reserved than what I expected. A lot of moments to shine are given to the competition, and once again, I felt like, You know, we have The Rock. You know,
Yeah.
let The Rock. I mean, you know, he runs every other franchise he's a part of.
Yeah,
You know, just let him go. So, just disappointing. Black Adam as a character does not care about killing. He sees it kind of as a necessity. So we have him morally aligned with like the Punisher or something like that. That killing is part of his deal, and that's where this kind of anti-hero element comes about. This puts him in a lot of contrast with the heroes of the DC universe. Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, it feels very, very terribly predictable how this film progresses.
Formulaic.
Oh, yeah. Formulaic without having a formula. You know what I mean? This is supposed to be the revitalization. You know what I mean? It feels formulaic already out of the gate. So I will say, action-wise, is okay. It's like watching a bunch of Mortal Kombat fatalities, but PG-13. So, you know, again, if I'll kind of revisit this. If you are a big fan of The Rock, if you're a big fan of Black Adam as a character in the DC mythos, and if you're just keeping up with DC, you know, this could all be recommendations for why you watch this. I was not loving it, though. I felt, especially around the brutality of the kills, yeah, it's cool every now and again, and yeah, they surprise you, but it really gets stale within its own movie after a while.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, and maybe it has something to do with Black Adam's powers being so godlike. You know, there's no nuance to how the character, you know, has maybe, you know, some
Adversity
problems. Adversity.
Yeah.
You know, he has weaknesses to play into for drama, but
Plot armor for that?
Yeah. I think that's just what you're going to get is the more the power
true.
level raises with these superhero films.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the problem Superman has had from the get-go.
Yeah,
that's
so
only
true.
Kryptonite. But yeah, like I said, slightly cool action, gets stale there, though. The feeling I have on this movie is anti-hero Thor. So many jokes are fish out of the water. A lot of Terminator 2 vibes where every joke is just him trying to understand modern culture and like quoting something wrong, you know?
Well, we love T2.
I do love T2. T2 also has a great minigun sequence, and there was no minigun sequence in this. There's some great destruction in T2. I mean, there's destruction in this where it's all, you know, it's a different beast, different era.
Can you go into again what you mean about fish out of water, kind of?
Sure. So this is a joke that like he just doesn't understand how the culture is around him, and that's the joke in itself.
It's just so we're just watching Rock in a setting that he's pretending not to know about, basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
And comedy is supposed to ensue.
Exactly.
Right,
you know,
right.
there's a kid, not a kid sidekick, but kid actor that is like following him and you know, obsessed with him in this way. And he's trying to, this is where the Terminator 2 vibe kind of comes into play. He's trying to give him a catchphrase, and The Rock doesn't know when to give the catchphrase before or after he kills someone. And it's like, okay, funny.
Right.
But when that is repeated and repeated and repeated as the only type of joke, it's like, all right, you know, it's stale. It's stale, but in its own movie. So, is it like if you were biting a sandwich and halfway through you're like, I'm done with this already? That's Black Adam. So, my major problem though is in exposition. Like I said, there is so much that just wears out its own welcome, and exposition is a big one because I feel like a lot of moviegoers, no one knows who Black Adam is. People barely know Shazam. No less a villain of Shazam.
Had no idea who Black Adam was.
Exactly. So there's a lot of heavy lifting that they have to do, and guess what? It's all voiced by this terrible kid actor. This is god-awful. You know, from a film that promised to be a unique anti-hero story, it comes out very generic, almost impossibly generic. And one of those movies you are going to forget a week after you see it. Again, I think this is a watch if you are a diehard fan of The Rock, diehard fan of DCEU, and excited, more specifically, to see where it goes. Maybe you weren't a big fan of DCEU so far, and you're like, all right, I want to give them a chance. You know, I like these characters.
Because, and not only that, because you said it's required to know where it's going as well.
Yeah.
We get a sense of something, at least. We kind of conceive what's on the horizon.
As a character, Black Adam is going nowhere, probably. So, you know, that's a big element to the movies coming ahead. You know, The Rock doesn't want to go anywhere. he wants the role. He wants that money. And he's going to get it. So, but like I said, you know, the franchise, it's really banking on this as a soft revive. And I don't see this revived at all. You know, I mean, I see the DCU almost in the exact same position it was before this came out. And I think for that reason, for everyone else, is a pretty hard pass. A perfect example of the theme park effect that these films have, that within the film itself, it only serves as self-promotion for what's coming next. We're going to go ahead and give Black Adam a 36.
Woo! Wow.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting it that.
Yeah. I'm just telling you, I mean... It's harsh. It's harsh. The film wastes your time, though. It's stale on its own.
Gosh, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, 36. I guess I'm not surprised, but at the same time, it's just like, boy, you know, I mean, this is they were banking on this.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he came out in the suit at Comic-Con. He was, you know, it was. And
that's what I mean by some of the fan-backed, you know, and you can look at some of the reviews here, critically panned, audience, huge, because they really, you know, the fans want Rock as Black Adam. It's kind of a perfect match, one of those perfect matches.
Which is cool, and I have no issue with that. But boy, I mean, 36 is bad.
Yeah.
It's very, very bad, especially when you're trying to revitalize it, because that's how bad, like, Suicide Squad sunk it, and they could never, ever get it back with how much they tried. Justice League, fail.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean, just a Superman. It's just it's crazy. It's crazy.
It's almost exclusively stumbles. And listen, you know, I'm not trying to just overtly hate on these movies.
No, and they are shot in the foot by the fact that Marvel did get the jump on. Yeah. So, you know, the formula of what we know as superhero movies was not only started but also done to nauseam already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now that formulaic just gets worse and worse with every film that comes out. So it'd just be nice if they could get a Christopher Nolan in there to actually do a proper reboot rather than the Love Boat guy.
Yeah. You mean Jungle Cruise?
Jungle Cruise. Yeah, that's exactly right, boy.
That's great.
What did I manage to do here? I managed to get Koreans mixed up with Japanese. I managed to call Superman Marvel.
Oh, and that'll get you skewered most of all.
I welcome it.
One last thing I'll note is that
something
like Thor: Love and Thunder, I gave a 33. I hated that movie.
That was a shit movie.
Yeah, it was real bad.
I wish I saw it in time for the podcast to do it.
Oh, Tommy Two Shoes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Garbage.
And this being a 36, that's not far off, but much how... in the 50s, we can see a very different version of why something's landing in the 50s.
Sure,
you know,
sure.
Either being generic or just like troubled, good and bad. In this one, again, in no way is this as bad as Thor: Love and Thunder. Nowhere close to as bad as Thor: Love and Thunder. But I think it feels a lot more generic just for being something so new, something so marketed as a new experience, a revamp to the DCEU. To have it come out so plain.
Well, generic and formulaic can be its own form of horribleness.
Yeah, exactly.
And viewer pleasure.
Exactly. So, no sides. I hate them all. Marvel, DC.
We're just here to watch, baby. We're just here to watch.
Exactly.
You're here to watch. I'm just here to, I don't know.
Right.
Make sure these mics are on, I guess.
Right.
Any last things, Vin, or are we going to roll credits here on this one?
No. I mean, I guess we got one more week of horror goodness. Excited for the last week. It's going to spill over, obviously, into November for the release, but hope everyone has been enjoying it so far. And again, if you have any recommendations for horror, we can always add it to the list. I'm always watching it throughout the year, October or not. So, but yeah, always excited.
Awesome, Vin. Thanks for watching these movies, Vince. Thanks for stopping by. Folks at home, we'll run it down one more time here. We have Hocus Pocus with a 71%, The Ring with a 74%, One Cut of the Dead with a 59%, Hocus Pocus 2 with a 60%, and Black Adam with a 36%. Folks, we thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Daily Ratings Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, if you would, could you give us a good rating or tell a friend about us? If you're wondering if a film is worth a watch, or just like to see more movie ratings from Vince, be sure to stop by thedailyratings.com, where we have our ever-expanding catalog of films. Also, if you found value in the podcast or our site, become a producer and go to the donations tab on thedailyratings.com. You can donate whatever amount of value you feel you received from us. We're looking to build this into something large and great, but also be independent from those corporate sponsors. So We greatly appreciate any support from you all. So thanks so much, and we'll see you next time on the Daily Ratings Podcast.